guys, how's it going? Psychic Savvy is at it again. This morning I was just sitting down at my computer trying to decide which video to film for today's video. The idea I was originally going to do fell through because it was going to take more time than I expected, etc, etc. And I was sitting there trying to decide what to film, and then I get a notification on my phone that I was tagged in something on Twitter. By the way, follow me on Twitter. And Savy has created a brand new original tag and she tagged me in it. So thank you so much, Savy. Again, if you guys haven't seen her channel yet, check her out. She is amazing and creative and is always coming up with a ton of cool things. Today, I'm going to be doing the Guilty Pleasures tag. For this tag, you take the letters that spell the word guilty, and for each letter is a question, and you have to answer with whatever book you have that answers with that question. So let's get to it. For the letter G, we have Goofy, a book that's not serious and you love it because it makes you laugh. I am going with Sideways Stories from Wayside School by, I think it's Louis Sachar. I read this book when I was a kid and I still love it. I still reread it from time to time when I'm just looking for a little pick-me-up. It's basically about this school that was supposed to be built with 30 classrooms, but the people that built it accidentally had the plan facing the wrong way, so they built it 30 stories straight up. And each chapter is a different story about a different kid, and they have all the teachers, and it's just a wild, fun kids book. And it's just one of those stories that every single character is just like weird and wacky and has that really one like unique thing about them. Like I said, very much a children's book, but it still makes me laugh, so Goofy it is. For the letter U, we have Underrated, a book you love even if it doesn't have great Amazon or Goodreads ratings. For that one, I'm going with The Hand of Robin Squires by Joan Clark. This is all about the mystery of Oak Island. I actually went on my Goodreads profile and I just clicked from lowest rated to highest and picked one of the first ones that I actually enjoyed. And this one had low, like 3-point-something low rating. So not a horrible rating, but a lot of people seem to dislike it. And I think that that's because, at least where I live in Atlantic Canada, this was required reading in grade 7 English class. If you don't know, Oak Island is off the coast of Nova Scotia, and I live in New Brunswick, so the province is boop, right next door. And I know a lot of people just will naturally hate a book that they're forced to read, so I understand why a lot of people initially didn't like this, but I friggin' loved it. There's pirates and treasure and a very like memorable ending scene that just really stuck with me for 14 years. That image has stuck very vividly in my mind, and over the years I had forgotten like the plot of this book. I'd forgotten so many things about it, but that one scene really stuck with me. So I loved it so much, but apparently a lot of people disagreed with me. For the letter I, we have Inconceivable, a book you love even though the premise is ridiculous. I'm going with Journey into Darkness by Michael Chiappetta. This is the fictional story of the WWE wrestler Kane. You know, the whole thing of The Undertaker being his half-brother and his parents dying in a fire and all of that. They made it into a novel, and I think it was fun. It was definitely fun. The book obviously is completely ridiculous. You know, it's a fake story about a fake character who was a giant wrestling star who came up in the 1990s, and if you know anything about 1990s wrestling, the characters were absurd. All of the gimmicks were absolutely just bonkers. Now, do I think this was a good book? No. Did I enjoy this book? Yes. If you're a wrestling fan, this book is great because it's all these little Easter eggs and references and just all of these little things that are just so fun. And as a diehard wrestling fan, I was just like smiling the whole time because little things that they'd reference, even little character names, I was like, I get that, and that is funny. But the story is garbage. Basically, his parents are killed in a fire and his brother as well, and then he starts to think maybe his brother isn't really dead, and this girl ends up dating him, and then she dies, and then he's disfigured and everything, and then he gets this weird job and everybody's after him, and he's trying to find pallbearer basically, and it's just this very strange ride, but I friggin' loved it, but indeed ridiculous. For the letter L, we have love. A book with a simple, basic, ordinary romance that you just connect to anyways. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I'm really not a big fan of romance. I don't know, I'm not one of those people that just feels a lot of romantic feelings, and I'm just not really super into that kind of thing. So I couldn't really think of many books that had like a romance that I really liked. And the ones that I did think of were definitely not simple or ordinary. So my answer is going to be a little bit different. I am going with Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. This is the story of a little boy named Billy who grows up on his farm, and life is fairly... Thank you, Comet. Thank you, y'all. And life is simple and boring. He's just, you know, a young country boy. And basically he saves up all of his money to buy 2 hunting dogs that he names Old Dan and Little Ann. And I love this story. So instead of going with a romance, I'm gonna go with the love that this little boy has for his dogs. It's just so sweet, and I just absolutely love it, and I love this story, and it makes me so emotional every time I read it. It's just their adventures and growing up, and him, you know, training these dogs to be good hunting dogs and trying to join this big competition, and just like their life and the dedication that he has to his dogs, and just how much he is proud of them and all of the little accomplishments. And it's just so pure and heartwarming. And even if you're not the kind of person that agrees with hunting for sport, like I don't like that kind of thing, but if you can ignore that and kind of just put yourself in the world that he lives in, where that is the norm, then it's just beautiful, and I love it, and I love to watch how much he loves it. And I mean, pets, like, you can't get a purer love than the love that people have for their pets. Like, honestly. T is for TV, so a TV show that you love even though everyone else thinks it's trashy. Now, I don't watch much TV. I haven't had TV since I moved out on my own 8 years ago. I'm just really not much of a television person, but the first one that comes to mind is a show from my childhood that I actually downloaded and rewatched like 5 years ago, and that is Reboot. If you haven't heard of this show, don't feel bad. It was a Canadian TV show in the late 90s. I think it was like 1994 to 2001. Don't quote me on that though. But I loved this, but it is so bad. It was good at the time, I'm sure, but it has aged horribly. It was one of the first big like computer animated TV shows, so that's really cool and everything, but it doesn't hold up to today's technology. And the whole premise of the show is you have Bob, who is a guardian, and he's basically like an antivirus program, and they live in this world called Mainframe, and they basically live inside a computer. They have these cubes that come down that are called games that the user puts in, and if they're in that square when it comes down, they're forced to take place in the games, and they have to try to beat the evil user. And it's basically like, you know when you're playing against the computer? That's them. They're playing against you and trying to beat you, and sometimes cheating, but it's okay.
Warning, incoming game. Warning, incoming game.
The main bad guy is called Megabyte, and he's basically a giant virus that's just trying to wipe everything out. And it's just one of those things that at the time seemed really like weird and cool and cutting edge and stuff, and it's like, whoa, we're gonna talk about the World Wide Web, and it's just crazy. But now we're like, that's not how the internet works, that's not how computers work, what are you talking about? And it aged so badly. And they tried to make it really like cool, so the characters talk in all of this slang, like computerized slang, and like the little boy Enzo, every time he's really excited, he goes like, oh yeah, alphanumeric, and that is his voice.
My business is doomed. End of file. Log off. I give up. I'll never be as cool as Dot.
Oh, compile up.
Dot! You almost got us erased! Deleted! Offline!
There's one part that his friend is in a game and she's like really injured and she's about to die or something. And he goes like, no, she's too young to control alt delete. She's too young to end program. And it's just like the funniest thing in the world. But it's not good. Although I do think that a lot of people do remember the show fondly because it's just one of those like childhood shows that is just, you love it for the nostalgia, not because it's a good show. But yes, the show is kind of trash, but I love it.
You're the best, and it shows. All the rest don't even come close. Yes, it's true. There's no one like you. You're alphanumeric.
And finally, for the letter Y, we have Young. A book you read as an adult and loved it even though it was targeted at someone way younger than you. If you thought I was going to be able to get through a tag video without mentioning Roald Dahl, you'd be wrong because I'm going with Fantastic Mr. Fox. As you can probably guess after watching a couple of my videos, I friggin' love Roald Dahl. And I just never read this book when I was young, we just didn't happen to own it. So I read this last year, I believe, or the year before. I was like 25 or 26. And this is a children's book, clearly. But I just loved it. It was just so like nice and cute, and it just has that perfect Roald Dahl feel that I just am in love with. And I actually read this to kind of get me out of a reading slump, so it had that extra little something to it. But yeah, I just thought it was so cute, and it's clearly not meant for somebody my age, but that's okay, I loved it. And that was the Guilty Pleasures tag. So again, thank you so much, Savy, for creating this tag and for tagging me. Your timing is perfect as always. The original video and all the questions are written down below, so I tag anybody watching to do this. If you do, please let me know in a comment or tweet at me because I would just love to see it. I think this is going to be a really fun new tag and I'm really excited to see what everyone else comes up with. If you liked this video, please click the like button so I know, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, usually reading or writing related. And I also recently joined Twitter, so feel free to follow me on Twitter because I'm always looking for more friends. So I hope to see you guys next time, and until then, have a great day. Bye!